Happy Monday. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to talk a little bit about relationships and doing an inventory on them today. So that's going to be interesting, right? um, yeah, this weekend we had some great coffee chats and I got some really good feedback and responses and comments. And it turns out that I'm definitely not alone in this feeling of being less visible as we get older. And this is a conversation I think I want to continue with this community and, work on ways for us to feel more visible and more valuable and all this stuff that starts to sort of fade away as we become older women in society. So yeah, I think it's really interesting and I'm looking forward to being on that journey with you. So please continue to give me your thoughts and your feedback. I love hearing from you guys on this topic, and let's get out there and be visible today. I want you to take that step with me and commit to doing this with me. So anyway, let's talk about today's topic because it's a good one. And this one really has a lot to do with our quality of life and the way that we enjoy our relationships and improvement and personal development, because really, let's face it, the quality of our lives is only as good as the relationships that we have. And those are what give life meaning and what give us purpose. So I think it's super important. And this is the thing about this is I saved this till the last week of the challenge, but I also noticed that a lot of people start losing steam right about this point because it's been so intense so far and we've been working on so many things. And this week tends to be even a little bit more intense and deeper and more introspective than the weeks prior. So stick with me and we'll get through this one. But today we're really going to look at our relationships and do an inventory on them. And we're going to be looking at all of the important relationships in your lives, not just the ones with your spouse or love interests, but also, with friends and with extended family members and with your parents and with your children and with everybody in your life. So we're going to be doing a lot more journaling this week. And we're going to be also a bit more, what's the word I want to use here? We're really going to look at our part. We're going to take responsibility this week. And the reason I think this is so important is that a lot of times I know that, back when Craig and I even started marriage counseling years and years ago, I think that our tendency is to go into it blaming the other person for us not getting our needs met. And I still do this. I still that's my default. And I think it's a default of a lot of us that we go into things thinking, well, you're not, doing X, Y, Z for me. And, that makes me feel like this. But what I didn't realize at the time is that I was not clearly communicating my needs. And he thought he was meeting them in a certain way when I needed them met in a different way. And relationships are so complicated. It's sometimes you don't even know what you need and you don't even know what you're asking for or even how to ask for it. We just had an argument last night. It was silly. I think, I purposely picked an argument with him, and it was about needing to be heard and not needing to be fixed. And men want to fix women. That's their thing. They want to fix problems. They say, hey, what's the problem? Let me fix it. And oftentimes we just want to be heard and want to vent. So I had one of those moments last night where I felt like I was holding a lot of stress in, and I wasn't bringing it to him to talk about because I didn't want him feeling like they were things that I needed him to fix. I just wanted to get it out. So, we had a little argument about that last night, and then I had to say, hey, this is what I need. I need you just to listen sometimes and not to, get frustrated or feel like this needs to be fixed, because sometimes that's not what I'm looking for. I just need to get it off my chest. So he said, okay, when you want that, then I need you to preface the conversation by saying, I'm going to sit down and talk to you about this, but this is an area where I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And I said, okay, fair enough. So we're going to try that. But yeah, a lot of times it's just about having that open communication and not bringing all your assumptions into it, because I start out at I start holding things in, resentment builds up, explodes on him. And he's like, whoa, where did that come from? I didn't even know this was going on. Why are you so like 0 to super angry? I don't understand. So, and that's my fault in communication, is that I just let things build up and build up and build up before I say something to him. And then he doesn't understand where I'm coming from, where I've been like, well, I've been feeling this way for 3 months. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault I'm blowing up on him. But yeah, so communication is super important. And if you have a significantly different communication style, I mean, I'm not just with men, because men and women are wired so differently, but with anybody in your family, if you're holding on to resentments and letting them build up over time, it's just not going to lead to a good place. So the first step is to accept your part and your role in the situation. The second thing is that if you can't be objective about it, then go to somebody who can, like go to a counselor. If it's important enough to you to work on a relationship and the other person's willing to go with you, then absolutely go. If it's your child, it could be your parent, it could be anybody, not just your spouse. But I frequently hear from women who will say, I would love to do that, but my husband won't go, or my kid won't go, or whoever. Then go by yourself. At first, it's going to be hard to get it to be totally objective, because the therapist is only hearing your side of things, but it might help to open your mind. And another trap I think we fall into when we do therapy is blaming the other person oftentimes and saying, well, it's all his fault or it's all her fault, and I don't know what to do, and because I'm doing my part. And I feel like there's always a place where we can accept responsibility. And when we step back and accept responsibility, that's where the growth is going to happen. So just keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that this is not a place, you should never be a doormat in any relationship. And if there's, a boundary that you need to set, or maybe you have codependency in your relationships with family members, or maybe you were raised in a family where codependency was rampant, and you are the first person in the family to step back from the craziness and to get healthy, then you need to protect that space around you, whatever it takes to do that. Maybe you have to love someone from afar. Maybe you need to just accept that they are who they are and they're not going to change. And you have 3 choices in any situation. You can accept it, you can change it, or you can leave it. And that is always your choice. You always have that power in any situation. So remember that. Maybe reading a book about boundaries. I know that Cloud and Townsend books on boundaries are amazing, and I've heard so many good things about them. I've loved them myself. Maybe that's something that you need to dive into and read. But whatever it is, all of this is pointing to one thing, that there are deeper levels in our relationships that we can get to with people if we're willing to do the work. So I want you to take an inventory of those relationships that you would like to do a deeper dive into, or have better closeness with, or that you feel like you could maybe even be more direct and assertive in, and talk about what your needs are in a way that's healthy and productive, and that can lead to some positive changes. What needs to be happening in your relationships to make them more loving or more intimate? Do you have unrealistic expectations? That's another great one. Sometimes we need to accept people for who they are and not who we want them to be. And we also need to carve out time to work on our relationships. So I know that this is a heavy topic, and it's one that can really sort of overwhelm you at first, especially if there's multiple relationships you want to work on. So today I recommend that you do a brain dump and just dump it all out in your journal. And then I want you to pick one specific thing in one relationship only. Because just changing one thing or working on one thing is a good place to start. That's what this challenge is all about. It's about layering in the pieces and continuing to work on them long term. Even though we're doing a lot of work in these 30 days, this is work that's going to continue for years. So definitely take it slow and pick one place where you feel like you can make a change. And I want you to journal about that today. So Again, ask yourself in each relationship, what is my part in this? And is there anything that I need to be doing differently, or I need to be communicating, or need to be more open about? And sit down and have the conversations. And if you haven't learned the skills for having conversations with people that are non-confrontational, then there are plenty of resources out there. I had to do this. I actually had a list I used to have printed out. It's probably in one of my desk drawers, but it was ways of approaching difficult conversations so that you weren't putting the other person on the defensive, and it leads to more productive communication and being more open with people. So I encourage you to do that if this is something that you struggle with. But pick one thing on your list today that you feel like you can work on that's not going to be too overwhelming for you, and journal about it first. And then you know, sometimes you may not even know why you feel a certain way, and you're going to have to keep asking yourself why, and digging deeper, and understanding what it is about you that doesn't feel heard. Or is this coming from a place of insecurity, or where is this coming from? Is this rooted in something that's actually happening, or is it something that you're making up in your head and making assumptions about? So just be super honest with yourself while you're doing this. And I look forward to hearing what comes up this week for you. Please continue to share those things with me. If you don't feel comfortable sharing them in our private forum in our Facebook group, then please DM me. I love hearing from you guys to see what you're working on. All right, thanks for tuning in this Monday. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Bye.